Good morning, everyone. My name is Shoshanna Gross. I am here from the ORA talking to Todd Bowen today. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Shoshanna. Good morning.
Good morning. So if you don't know by now, Todd is our government affairs guru. And so when he's on the Daily Dose, we're talking about government affairs. There's a lot going on at the state level and at the federal level, as has been kind of the norm now, going on at least 4 months. Let's get started with the state. What are we seeing from the State House lately in the governor's office?
Awesome. Thanks, Shoshanna. So certainly, I would guess most people watching this probably watched or at least then read the coverage of the governor's press conference yesterday. And really, the main messages coming out of there are everybody should wear a mask whenever you are around other people. And certainly at the ORA, we have been echoing that message and really strongly encourage both restaurant owners and operators and the dining public to take that really seriously. There's growing and overwhelming evidence that that does make a difference. So strongly encourage that. The other is just be vigilant. I think restaurant owners and operators have done that. And I think we've seen over the last 2 weeks that people are being a little more vigilant than they had been when there was kind of a perception that things were getting better and we could loosen up. So just be vigilant personally and with your restaurant. And then the third, he really didn't talk about this, but this is something that we're going to be working a lot at the ORA over the next 2 weeks. And this is just this idea that as we are continuing to operate our businesses and COVID-19 is still with us, that you need to really think through and have a plan for what you would do if there's a positive case. And we'll have some more coming on that, but certainly feel free to reach out to myself or Laura or John at any time and talk through what the contact tracing is and just kind of be prepared and start to wrap your mind around that, because it's likely to happen. And it's not just restaurants, it's really all businesses need to be prepared for that.
Yes, as we are in the phase now where we're doing our best to live with this virus and continue to operate some of our businesses and be safe, we just need to know what to do when people do get sick, so that we're not in constant crisis and panic mode. So it's really, I'm happy to hear that the ORA is working on that, and we'll definitely have some more to come, and we'll talk a little bit about it in just a few minutes as well. So in addition to the governor's press conference last night, we also have recently heard from the National Restaurant Association that with Congress coming back into session, they're going to be starting a new campaign called the Blueprint for Restaurant Revival. So we're going to have some more information about that over the next couple of weeks. But Todd, do you want to just give us a quick overview of what to expect there?
Yeah, so certainly at the ORA, we are always working on multiple tracks, and the timeliness of the National Restaurant Association releasing the Blueprint for Restaurant Revival and the push that we are going to be on to make sure that our legislators in Ohio are well aware that for restaurants, on all businesses, but restaurants really continue to be on the front lines of how hard it is to operate, of dealing with consumer confidence that's up and down. And we know restaurants are going to need additional help. So Congress, both the House and the Senate, are going to be in session for the next 2 weeks. So that's why this is so timely. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are in the blueprint, but I won't spend too much time on that today. There'll be a lot more of that there was in our daily memo yesterday. There will be tomorrow, but what I really want to talk about is what you as an operator and an owner can do to help amplify that message. So certainly, briefly what's in the bill, number one, and the thing that we're going to talk about a lot is a request for an extension of the Paycheck Protection Program. We know that after the Flexibility Act was finally passed, that really has been a lifeline for a lot of restaurants. And there is a decent amount of money still left in the Paycheck Protection Program. So we're certainly going to say, number one, it would be very easy for Congress to open that back up and allow even restaurants and other businesses that are still highly negatively impacted by the coronavirus to get a second PPP loan. And then we would even advocate that Congress should add some additional dollars to that. And a couple of the other things that are in that, we continue to talk about Congress creating a restaurant recovery fund, and there is a bill in the Senate called the Wicker Cinema bill that we think is good. So we'll continue to talk about that. And then there are some, obviously, we'll continue to talk about business interruption insurance, although my sense is that the idea of a federal backstop for that is less likely to happen, that the emphasis has really been on the Paycheck Protection Program and some of these other things. And then liability protection is another thing that we'll certainly talk about. The uncertainty of having to deal with an airborne virus, we believe that it would be very necessary that there be some help for businesses that might be hit with lawsuits, even businesses that are really trying absolutely to do the right thing. There should be some protection because of the unknownness of this. Obviously, businesses that are just willfully and negligently acting, that's another story. But if you are really doing your best, Congress should set up some parameters on liability protection from that. And we are also working on a bill at the State House called House Bill 606. So we'll continue to push on that. But then this question, what can you do? Number one, I would say text, get out your phone right now. Even you can ignore what I'm saying for a couple of minutes. Text REVIVAL, REVIVAL to 52886. So again, text REVIVAL to 52886. And then that will allow you to add your voice. This is a tool that the National Restaurant Association has set up, would allow you to add your voice as an owner and operator. And that really is essential. It's great when our legislators hear from us, but when they hear directly from their constituents, that's very powerful. You can also go to restaurantsact.com. Number one, that's a great place to learn more about the bill, but there is also a tool on there where if emailing really is easier for you than texting, you can do that right there. So those are two things that you can do. And then I would also say, start writing a letter to your legislator talking about how this has impacted your business. Personal stories are very meaningful. And on our website, and we'll highlight this in the daily memo, again, we'll provide a direct link, but on our coronavirus updates page, we have a section that talks about who the legislators are for each district and who their contact information and who their key staff are, or call me and I'll tell you who your legislator is. So those are the three things you can do. Text REVIVAL, go to restaurantsact.com, start working on a letter.
Great. That seems like pretty straightforward, easy ways to take some action quickly. And hopefully we can see an extension to the PPP loan program, as well as some of these other things that we're discussing. So, as always, the ORA is continuing to work on communication with our members, making sure that we have resources available. So what are a couple of things coming up in the next week or so?
Yeah, two things that you should really be on the lookout for. Next Tuesday, we're going to have a webinar. We're going to continue to talk about this idea of the restaurant industry talking with a unified voice. This one particularly is going to be kind of focusing on a safer environment for employees and guests. And there'll be a lot of conversation about this idea of what do you do if you have a positive coronavirus test. Restaurants are under immense pressure. Their employees have an opinion. Social media has an opinion. The news media has an opinion. So we're going to help clarify how do you navigate all of that. And we'll have somebody from the health department. They'll talk about contact tracing. That is so important and so essential. And really the contact tracing is probably the single biggest thing that comes into what you do when you have a positive test. And I think some restaurants have closed down. And we'll talk about when is the right time to do that. And I think we've seen that restaurants in social media are maybe held to a higher standard than other businesses. So we'll talk through how do you deal with that versus the reality of what is the best thing to do. And then on Thursday, our ORA CEO, John Barker, and Sean Kennedy, who's the Executive Vice President for Government Affairs for the National Restaurant Association, and is probably the person on their team most intimately familiar with every detail of the blueprint for restaurant revival and involved in the outreach they're doing. We'll have a daily dose type video with some more information on that. So those are two great ways to educate yourself on what we think are at the state level and the federal level, two of the really important things to look out for next week.
Great. Sounds like a lot of wonderful things happening, and I really thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it today.
Absolutely glad to do it. And, let's hope for a good weekend of sales for restaurants this week and a safe weekend for everyone.
Yes. Thanks, Todd.